Sky Howdy, and welcome back to another episode of World Bigfoot Radio. And we're back for the first show of the new year. It was actually planned quite a ways back during the last year. And some of you may remember that about half a year ago, I was doing a big membership drive looking for more subscribers, trying to make 25,000 subscribers by 2025. Well, we beat that goal really easily, and as a matter of fact, today we just hit 26,000. So thanks to all you guys for getting the new subscribers in here, or maybe YouTube's actually letting somebody new know that the show exists, which would also be really great. If you got any friends or relatives or neighbors or pets that aren't subscribed, get them over here and get them subscribed. And I'd also like to let you guys know that they've kind of changed their algorithms around again, which is making things even more difficult for those of us that have been around for a while. And they heavily favor live streams. So if you're not doing a live stream, you can have some problems in this regard. And how they decide what to promote and what not to promote all has to do with interaction during the premiere and the hour afterwards. So bless your hearts if you see that I've got a new show coming out and you say, oh, awesome, I'll check that out tomorrow. You're actually killing my channel. Please don't do that. If you can be there when the premiere is happening, be there when the premiere is happening. Interact with it. Leave a comment afterwards within the first hour, because then it actually matters. And that helps push the show in the algorithm. So the machine brain of the algorithms goes, humans are interacting with this content, therefore I should promote it elsewhere. And then other new people get to see the show, and it gets passed around a little bit more. So in order to avoid a death spiral on this channel, I need you guys' help. Also, January tends to be really bad, super poor, not only broke and starving, but freezing, because January, I know everybody's broke after Christmas. If anybody does have an extra few bucks to throw at the channel, you will be getting recognition, and in the form of being on the producer list at the beginning of the show. So with all of that said, love you guys. Thank you so much for all your support, and let's keep this channel going. We got really great stuff coming up here. Don't forget the Glag Saga reboot is still going on. That's every Wednesday at 8 Central. That will be coming out. And a lot of you probably don't realize how many episodes there were of that. And that's not including Addendum and Apocrypha episodes. So this is going to be going on for quite a while. So show up Wednesday, 8 Central. Help support the Glag Saga in the memory of our good friend Kevin, who died May 4th, 2020, and never did get a chance to come back up here again. But you'll be seeing the when he did come up here part at the end of the Glag Saga. So anyway, with that, let's get around to what we're doing today. We are once again blessed and extremely lucky to have the amazing MK Davis with us. All of you know who he is, so I'm not going to give you a long intro or anything, except go sub his channel, Greenwave FP20. What is it?
2010.
2010.
Yeah.
Greenwave FP 2010. Get over there, sub that channel. He has all kinds of new stuff coming out regularly. Finds interesting things to do breakdowns and commentary on. And some of it's his stuff. And that's what we're going to get into here first before we go on to the main event, which is the Honey Island Swamp Monster. As some of you may not know, the Patterson-Gimlin film was not the earliest film shot of a Bigfoot. Well, we'll get around to that a little bit later. First of all, back to MK, and he had a game cam set up somewhere out there in the sticks where he lives. And he got some pretty interesting video. You want to tell everybody about that?
Yeah, I've been monitoring what I call an old game trail from hundreds of years ago. But animals, once they start using a trail, they continue to use it. It becomes acquired genetics. It's in their heads, and they continue to use that trail. I went to Packwood, Washington in the spring, and the elk were coming down out of the mountain following an old elk migration route that took them straight through the town. The town built itself. The town built itself, you know, and they didn't stop. They continued to use the same migration, and they were all up inside of people's garages and carports, and I mean, it was just everywhere. It was infested with Roosevelt elk. I thought to myself then, I said, well, we don't. I might as well not try to go hunting for elk. I mean, it won't mean much if I kill one, because I mean they come right up to you and knock on your door.
Not much of a challenge, is what you're saying.
Right. I didn't know they did that, but I've researched that since and found out that they do still follow. All animals do. It's hardwired into their brain. After a while, they do it for so many generations, then the offspring pick it up. They go follow it automatically. And so I found one of those old game trails, and I put the camera out there, and I picked up several things, but what I picked up the other night was outstanding. It was strange looking when it came into the scene, but it is a dead ringer for what they call a Shunka Warakin.
A Shunka Warakin.
Yeah. Which means carries off dogs. The first thing you try to do in your head is try to rationalize it. They say, well, that looks like maybe a mangy coyote, or maybe a coy dog, maybe a half dog, half coyote. But it's neither. It's got a very long neck. It looks more hyena-like, but maybe not totally hyena. And there, interestingly enough, there was one that was shot and killed in 1886 in Montana.
Hey, that's near me.
Yeah, that's up in your neck of the woods, and it got mounted. It was so unusual looking, and it killed a ton of livestock. And this guy killed it finally, and he had it mounted, and it disappeared for a lot of years, probably about 100 years. And the guy's grandson found it at the University of Idaho at Pocatello. And he reacquired it and built a museum, and it's in that museum of his. They still exist. And I have seen these things, at distances, all my life. They got a different posture altogether. They're low in the back, big in the front, and they got this long neck. And I'm probably looking at the very same animal that got a hold of my cat.
Could be.
Yeah, we had to have the cat's right leg amputated, front leg, because it crushed it.
Oh, boy.
The vet said he saw, there were perforations that it was consistent with an animal bite, but it was a serious animal bite. The leg was unsavable.
So going back for a second, now this thing was stuffed and being hidden in the basement of the University of Idaho Pocatello for 100 years.
Right. They denied having it at first. You know how that goes.
Yeah. So
And
where was it? Like in Meldrum's closet or something, hidden back there?
I don't know, wherever he's got a lockable room.
So now the owners got this. Did they got it? They got it back then?
They got it back. It's back in the family again. The family of the person who originally killed it.
Did they ever allow it to be examined, photographed, anything like that?
Yeah, it has been. Idaho did it. The University of Idaho did it, but they didn't find out anything. They 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 don't know what it is.
Mm,
If it was a mangy coyote, they would find that out very fast.
yeah.
Uh, it's not anything like that. They're a little scared to call it a hyena, cause I mean that would be what would a hyena be doing over here in the 1880s?
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't look exactly like a hyena either.
No, it's
And
got some differences. It's hyena like.
mhm.
It's got some pluses and some minuses. But you can judge for yourself when you see the little video. You'll notice that it it looks up and then bolts and runs, and if you amplify the sound, you'll hear something make a noise, and I can't imitate the noise. I don't. It's strange sounding, but it was two times it did it, and this thing bolted and ran, and it was obviously afraid of whatever made that noise. So what's going on the crossroad? That's what I call that trail. Who knows? I've gotten two times that I've picked up a strange animal that could not be identified. And then the other one, it looks more like a warthog.
Oh God.
And it goes trotting by in front of the camera, left to right, and it's gone. Never saw it again. It had a long snout on it, like a horse.
Uh,
A really long snout.
yeah.
Uh, but warthogs have that.
Yeah.
Long snout and tusks that come out. I thought it was pretty interesting that warthogs live underground, because that would be a way that something could stay hidden, cryptid like.
Yeah. That's attributed to quite a few cryptids that they dig burrows or they use existing holes, tunnels, or caves in the
Yeah.
ground.
But that's where, we don't know. We know what goes on in the daytime, but when it gets nighttime, we don't know. We have these little peephole shows like my little game cam, and that's only been in recent years they've gotten the those things perfected, and they got the quality up where you can make an identification,
Yeah.
or know that you're seeing something brand new. So now we're starting to see just a little bit of what goes on. I picked up a bobcat that was probably double the size of a regular bobcat and had no spots on it. It was tawny like a cougar, but it had a short tail.
Yeah.
Haven't seen that one anymore. It was just a one-time visitor walking down that trail.
It's interesting you mention that because I've heard a couple different places in the country where people know where there's the ancient game trails and occasionally go take a look at them. And one of them was up here in the Wallowa Mountains, and the guy that went to take a look at it found 32, 34-inch tracks going down the game trail, and then decided it was too dangerous and waded across the river back to the other side and didn't go over there again.
Hey, that was smart.
Yeah, but this was apparently an ancient game trail that the natives used to use back in the day when they were around the area, which they're not anymore. But somebody's still using it. Somebody with really, really big feet.
Well, I mean, we don't know everything there is to know about those type things either. What what makes the animal decide on a game trail to where they all travel the trail? Uh,
Yeah.
is it earth energy or or shortest distance to a certain place? They continue to follow this thing even when it don't lead to the same original place anymore. Uh, it just got it's in there. It's hardwired. That they follow it.
Some of it could just be local use too, because some animals' sense of smell is so acute. If there's tons of different animals going up and down this trail, it's like the sound of a freeway to us,
Yeah,
except they're
when I
smelling
was a
it.
kid, uh, there was no nothing back that way. It was all just solid woods and kind of wilderness, I guess. Uh, and animals, that was their way of moving from one uh, section of cover and woods to another section. It was a trail they traveled. But as time goes by, people move in and things change, but the trail is still followed.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of makes you wonder, some of these cryptids that might live for a really long time definitely know about these trails. And if you wanted to run into one of those by accident, it's a great place to go hang around.
Yeah, I have. That's the first time I've gotten a Shunka Warrican, uh, and I've been running that little old game camera for a couple of years now, and it's worth every bit of the effort
Oh yeah.
to get something like that on video.
Oh, and you got a great spot like that to set up a camera that, you're going to definitely be getting traffic by it, and who knows what kind of weird things you'll pick up. So that's totally worth doing.
Yeah, it sure is. I got a big buck last night, a monster. I don't know where he's been hiding. I hadn't seen him before. He was sneaking. He was sneaking, just like he might have known where that camera was. He kind of went around the periphery. You know,
Some of those big bucks, they become kind of nocturnal and they do most of their moving around and stuff at night and let the younger bucks and stuff get killed during the day when the hunters are running around.
he was at least a 10 point, maybe
God.
more. Uh, Monster.
That's awesome. We
Following
got a
that trail.
we got a few big deer up here that live right in town, and that's why they're so big because nothing messes with them, and they got plenty of food, so they just get ginormous. So anyway, on to the main event now. We're here to talk about the Honey Island Swamp Monster, and as we pointed out in the last episode of MK Davis Goes in search of, and he was in search of Champé. That river that comes out of Champé's mound goes and flows south a couple 100 miles. And where does it go into, MK? Oh, yeah, that's right, the Honey Island Swamp.
The Honey Island Swamp. And the Honey Island Swamp is vast. It's actually it's an island caused by the Pearl River splitting in two. Had the East Pearl and West Pearl, and then coming back together before it goes into the ocean. And it's also got several other big river effluents coming into those swamps. So the Boga Chido and some of the other big rivers over there in Louisiana go into it. So it's a Chafalaya. You ever heard of a Chafalaya? It's a Choctaw word meaning long river.
Mhm.
It's a slow moving. It's kind of funny, but when you study hydraulics, you find out that if a river is deep, like the Mississippi River, beginning around Vicksburg, the bottom of the river starts to get to sea level before the top. So it slows down, and the top is going faster than the bottom.
Mhm.
So it starts a churning or a rolling from there down to the Gulf. And as you get closer and closer, more and more of the river is reaching sea level. And so the Chaffalay, when it gets down there, it just widens. It won't flow anymore. It just backs up, goes out, and spreads. And it's some really vast swamps. So whenever people talk about the Honey Island swamp monster, it's Honey Island is kind of where things were happening mostly, but it was seen in other places as well.
The whole area surrounding it ginormous and potentially monsters roaming around in it.
Yeah, it's not really cemented about what exactly it is. People think Bigfoot, but maybe it is a Bigfoot, or maybe there is a Bigfoot and something else. The creature that Harlan Ford originally described wasn't exactly a Bigfoot. It was more like a, let me give you the description. He said that they had a armload of camping gear that they were taking across to the deer camp. So they had to park their boat, get the stuff in their arms, go up the bank and walk for a certain ways. And they saw this thing while they both had an armload. And they didn't, if they put it down, they didn't want to put it down because they couldn't get it back up. So they just sat there and watched it, holding it. And it was facing away from them, and they took it to be a hog at first. It had hog-like.
Uh-huh.
It was on all fours. And then it realized it was being watched, and it stood up and turned around. And they said it had huge amber eyes and a mane of hair, long hair, around its neck, shoulder. And it ran off on 2 feet and left those characteristic
three-toed tracks.
It's a three. You could call a smaller digit on the side if it's in a good print. It'll pick it up sometimes it don't. Maybe you can call it 4 toes, but let me show you. I got it right here.
So we got three prominent toes and then one vestigial fourth one that's smaller.
Yeah. Let me see if I can show you.
There you go. Got a little glare. Turn it the other way.
Let me back it up.
There you go.
See that digit? It's a little vestigial toe right there. Not much of one, but it's there. The 3 main ones, and you're going to find that sometimes, and sometimes you don't see anything of it. And it's just real easy to go pick it up,
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. So that's the cast of the one that we're going to show the picture of, right?
Yeah, I got this from Harlan Ford's son.
Oh, okay. You got one of Harlan's tracks.
See if I can. It's backwards. I'm seeing. Maybe it's frontwards there.
Yeah, we can see it frontwards on this one. M.K. Davis from
Perry Ford.
Perry Ford. Okay.
Now he's deceased now. That was quite a few years ago. I went down there on a motorcycle.
Well, according to one of the local residents down there in Louisiana that I know extremely well, Christy, who talks to the local Bigfoot down there, the Sukaloo, they say that there are Bigfoot in the Honey Island swamp, but they don't really apparently spend too much time there either because of the Shompe and the Gugwe that are running around the swamp.
Well, I'm not really sure which one that the Honey Island swamp monster is. The one that Harlan Ford saw, there's some things about it that are unlike a Bigfoot,
Yeah, the other thing is that they claim, and I've heard this from other researchers too, and Will Lunsford and some other people, that they think the Gugwe tracks have 3 toes. So that might be, exactly the same thing as what we're looking at
It
here.
could be. Now the gugwees, you've you've talked to me about that before. The gugwees are kind of like bad to the bone, aren't they?
Yeah, they're basically like giant baboons. So, think of how smart and how vicious the baboon is and scale it up a lot. And that's something you don't really want to run into.
Well, I tell you what, they're very good swimmers. I talked to a lady last December a year ago, and she told me when she was about 12 years old that she was in the boat with her dad and someone else, and they were going down to this spillway to fish. And they saw up ahead what they took to be a muskrat.
Uh,
And when they got closer, it had made it over to the bank. And she said it stood up and it was at least 7 feet tall. And it looked at them and turned around and walked into the woods on two legs.
well, that's no damn muskrat. They don't get that big.
No, but what it was doing was keeping a low profile.
Yeah.
It didn't leave a lot disturbance on the water. Sneaking, for lack of a better word,
Hmm.
sneaking across there. And it went into the woods right where I found this track that you're going to show here. Uh,
Yeah, and let's take a look at that. We got two versions. We got the raw version, and then we got the outline version for people that have
right.
problems with seeing things.
Well, I could see it very plain from my vantage point. And
And I should,
at the time, I was disbelieving it all. I had never found anything of my own, and I had become a doubter. And I went by there just totally unannounced. I dropped my wife off in New Orleans to stay with a friend in the hospital, and I decided to swing back through there on the way home. So no one knew I was coming, so I know I wasn't set up. And then I entered the woods off trail to make sure I didn't walk a trail that a lot of people walked or anything.
right.
And that thing was down there.
Okay, I'm here at Honey Island, and this is the trail that goes to the locks. And look, there's already some sign of stuff being done here on the trail. Been over and blocked. Fairly fresh. Goes on this way. It's lightning and thundering off in the distance, and I probably won't go far. Okay. Not really sure.
And when I saw it, I had looked at Harlan Ford's tracks many, many times, and I said, "This can't be." I've got to go and take back everything that I said about it not existing.
I should point out that Will Lunsford over there at Ground Zero in where are they at? Texarkana, Arkansas, over there in that area. He's got track casts of three-toed tracks from that area.
I didn't have any plaster with me. I just took a some good camera shots of it. I found it while I was walking across, just in the woods off trail.
Yeah.
I had
We got a good picture.
I had my GoPro on a stick, and the first thing I did was run the GoPro over it out ahead of me before I saw it. And you can see that in the video. That whoa,
What the hell is this?
the Honey Island is strange because you got some clay underneath there, and it's in the summertime. It'll bake hard. They won't get rain for a long time, and it'll bake hard. And then this clay, and they call it Yazoo clay. It will erupt through that crust like a little geyser and make a little spit. I call it a dome of wet clay right there on top of that dry, crusty stuff. And that's what that was. And it stepped in it and made a really good, deep impression. I wish I did have some plaster for that one.
Yeah, that looks like that would have been a good one. But I mean, hey, there you were. No way is anybody hoaxing that. You found this track. It's got 3 damn toes, just like Harlan Ford's tracks. That he got multiple casts of.
My little theory of hoaxing and stuff just crumbled right before it.
Just crumbled.
Yeah. And I've endeavored ever since to try to make it up to people that might have been hurt by it. Dana Holyfield, that's Harlan Ford's granddaughter. She's a real nice person, and I make sure that I don't miss a chance to make that statement. That I had found these and they were in harmony with what Harlan Ford had found. So it's the Honey Island swamp monster is there. It's alive and well.
And we got the oral testimony of what's that guy's name, Wally? Yeah.
You talking about Ted Williams?
Yeah, the one you sent me.
Yeah. His name, like the baseball player.
Yeah.
Ted Williams. He disappeared in the swamp.
First time I ever saw it was standing plumb still like a stump. And on the trap line, and I stopped after I realized it wasn't a stump, and that it wasn't supposed to be there. And it run. When I stopped, it run. It was a dark gray, about 7 foot high. And it jumped a barrel. That's the first sighting I ever saw. Well, the next time I seen them, was they swimming the river, 2 of them. And one of them was bigger than the other, and one of them was faster than the other, and they swim just like a human. Them long overhand strokes. I tried to get one of them to look at me, and the other one got out of the way, and the other one they would look at me. And I could have shot it, but I wouldn't do it on account it wouldn't look at me. It looked too much like a human to me. Broad shoulders, and arms hang down below its knees. Hands looked almost like a human. And I don't like to talk about it because people don't believe what you say, what you've seen. And I don't like to be called a liar. Nobody does.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he went missing.
I presume after he did this recording.
After he did that, he was on In Search Of.
Uh-oh.
He was one of the people that they talked to.
Well, how appropriate he's on In Search Of again. just a different version of it.
Yeah. Well, he he described them. He'd seen them several times because he run trap lines. You know, somebody that's real intimate with the woods.
Mm-hmm.
And he said he's seen them swimming. And he saw one of the ones he saw swimming was to a pair of them, and they were swimming arm over arm. Well, the only way you can do that is if you're a brachiator.
Yep.
You got to have a ball and socket in the shoulder
Yep.
to do that.
Yep.
And so that tells you right then and there that this thing is a brachiator. It's the only thing that has that is the primates and man. You know, the higher primates, including man.
Yeah, the four-legged critters all dog paddle when they're swimming.
You know, everything's underneath them.
Yep.
Like
yep.
They can't bring them over.
Now, the other thing that we should mention is that although Harlan was incredibly ridiculed and a bunch of people did their best to debunk everything that he was saying and whatnot, after he died, video that he had shot of the Honey Island swamp monster came out that apparently he had stored in a trunk or something. And the kids found it after he died, and then that came out. And this had been recorded in 1963. So 4 years before the Patterson-Gimlin film was shot, Harlan got the video of this, whatever that weird thing is. There we go. There we go.
Right, the outline helps, you know, when you're trying to look at it up close. And I have a 2-frame that just blinks back and forth, where you can see it, the movement of it, and you can see that it's something of a substantial size.
Well, you can tell. I mean, it's a ways back there, and he's got it on video for a few seconds walking away. From right to left, going across the screen, but he's not close enough to get any really high detail of it. It does appear to be a Sasquatch, but at that distance could just as easily be a Gugwe. Could be Champé, because Champé are supposed to look like Sasquatch too.
Well, if you look at the face where I outlined it, the face is extended.
Mm-hmm.
It's like what do they call that, prognathus or something like that. Prognathus.
No, I'm talking about. Are you talking about the video you got or Harlan Ford's video?
Harlan Ford's.
Okay, yeah, I'm talking about Harlan's. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of an extended face and the prominence, right here. So whatever it is, it's got that. You have to take what the film gives you.
Yeah.
And it's got really muscled up arms. I mean.
Yeah, it's massive. You can tell that. And again, the guy's out in the friggin' swamp in 1963 and manages. That's like a miracle that he got the video at all.
Yeah,
it's hard to quibble about the quality when it's like it's a miracle he even got this.
It's an 8mm camera. I mean, it's very. The format is small.
Yeah.
And Patterson got his on a 16mm. Well, just imagine getting a pair of scissors and cutting it right down the middle, and you got an 8. That's what they actually do. They cut 16mm film in half, and they sell it as 8. It only has sprocket holes on one side.
Yeah. I know we had an 8mm camera when I was a little kid. My dad used to film things with it. Best piece of video he got was that we had a hay bale in the backyard, and it was the middle of winter, and this one big buck wanted to lay claim to it, and this other littler buck wanted it too, and they stood on their hind legs and boxed each other. You got that on video. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. Sure.
First time I saw deer doing that, I didn't know they were boxers.
I saw during a flood, all the animals were pushed out of the forest onto these high ground, these little islands and stuff. And I had thermal, and I watched these animals. These two deer went at it, boxing. They got up on their hind legs.
Yeah.
I mean, they were putting on a show, but it was for nobody. I was the only one who could see it because I had thermal. It was for their own entertainment.
Smacking the crap out of each other. Yeah, the video we got, that looked very painful. They got hooves, man.
I saw about a 500-pound hog try to get some dinner, try to kill one of them deer. And he ran at them, and they managed to get away, but they had to go out in the water.
So getting back to Harlan's really sweet video that wasn't released until much later, but actually could be claimed to be the first Bigfoot video in North America. But we don't know exactly what it is, and that's part of the problem. And like you're saying, prognethus snout on it, what are we looking at here? Is that actually a gugwe? Or is it Champé? We don't know. We don't have a physical description of Champé.
I know it kills hogs, but don't eat them.
And that sounds like something that a gugwe would do because they're into enjoyment killing. And Bigfoot usually don't do that. If they're going to kill something, they're going to eat it.
When it comes to, I don't know whether it's territorial or what, but that's one of the first things Harlan Ford said, that he found a eviscerated hog, and it was the blood everywhere, but he didn't make any attempt at eating it. And I found them myself. So, that's not normal predation.
No, that's not even predation. That's,
they're killing
malicious
for a different reason.
Yeah, and killing for sport, which usually only humans do something like that. So that's a little bit scary. So the first time you were there, you were just driving back from dropping off the wife and you found this track. So then what about the next time that you decided to go back there again?
Well, I came in behind a storm, a thunderstorm, and I crossed this little canal. There's a way to get across on the not the spillway, but it's a lock. It's non-functioning. It's from days of yore, but you can walk at the top of it. It's a little walkway there, and get across. And I walked over there, and I kind of looked around a little bit, and it had just stopped raining for about 10 minutes. And there's a trail that you get on, and I got on the trail, and I walked maybe another 20 yards, and I saw something that I knew to be Bigfoot related. It's a broken limb, snap.
Right.
And that limb, it was used to make an X across the trail. A little glyph.
Mm-hmm.
And you could look down in that broken part, and there was no water in it. The stub,
right,
from the sapling, and I knew that it was done in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, very fresh.
Yeah, very fresh.
Okay, I'm here at Honey Island, and this is the trail that goes to the locks. And look, there's already some sign of stuff being done here on the trail. Been over and blocked. Fairly fresh. Goes on this way. It's lightning and thundering off in the distance, and I probably won't go far.
So whatever the message was, I noticed it and I got the message, but I don't know exactly if I got it right. Some people say it's don't come this way, and some people say it's if you get straight cross, 90 degrees means one thing, and then the X like this means something else. Maybe you know something about that.
Well, X laying on the ground is supposed to be an indicator of basically it's a welcome mat. X standing up is a territorial marker, and X standing up with a leaner on it is no trespassing.
I'll let you look at it and see what you think if it was telling me to get back. You have to be around a while, to see enough of that to realize what it is.
Mm-hmm.
The average person probably would.
Yeah, so one of these experts needs to publish their glyph alphabet so that we know what we're looking at when we see them laying on the ground. And I ain't that person.
At least the important ones that keep you from getting your butt kicked.
Yeah, stay the hell out, no trespassing ones. Those are important to know about. Definitely.
Well,
so
there again now. We went back. Oh, it's probably the next November.
So this is your third trip there, then?
I had a friend with me. He had a dog that he swore would bark when he smelled a Bigfoot. So he had this little dog with him. We had gone up to the spillway, and believe me, that's a heck of a trip down that trail. And we were on the way back, and that dog barked. And I got out my thermal, and I looked across the way over there, and there was this thing on all fours just standing there. It was quite a ways away. It was across this floodwater. But
was this during the day or just?
Oh, it was at night.
Okay, so without the thermal, you wouldn't have seen anything.
I wouldn't have seen a thing without the little dog.
Yeah. The dog to alert you to turn the thermal over there.
He alerted me, but it was out there, and we watched it a long time, and we tried to get it to move by hollering at it, throwing sticks out there, and it never moved. That struck me as being odd. That even a bear will either run or run at you. Stimulate it to do something. This thing just stayed still.
Hello, I'm MK Davis. What you see there in the center of the screen here is some thermal video of what I believe could be the Honey Island swamp monster, taken in Honey Island, November the 3rd. I'm going to just show you. This is a small clip, and I've got more video to look at. Probably be some more out about it. But I want to show you some things. This thing held its ground and did not move for a long period of time, in spite of all our efforts to intimidate it, to get it to go. It sat there, and after a while, anything will move, especially in a swamp. But let's just look at it here. I'm going to just go back. You see it kind of changes orientation, a little bit of shape. There you go. You start to see it move a little bit, and you can see the other parts of it behind it. It's kind of behind brush a little bit. You see the brush right here? This would be the front leg. This would be the back leg. And they're very long legs. And I'll show you why. And I had to zoom in on it using my computer. Of course, at the time I was only 2.5 magnification. You see what I mean? Let me watch it. This is across the slough. You can see the water right here. It's a pretty good ways out there. And I think it's probably associated with that other thing that we filmed that was small, that was jumping in the trees. You see, it's on all fours. Wait a minute here. Well, I'll tell you what, let me just go back to the... Yeah, here we go, right here. Rather imprecise cutting that I did. That's the leg. He lets that leg swing out from behind the brush. Something's bothering him, flies or mosquitoes or something. Let me just go frame by frame because it's easy to sweep by that thing. There you go. See, it pulls it right back behind that brush. It just kind of lets it swing out. You can kind of see the knee and the foot. Now it's gone, see. Pulls it back in behind the brush. But you see it right there, see it? And then you see it back out. And this thing held its position other than this. Now I have another video that I'm not sure whether I actually got it on video. It actually scratched itself. And this was, I looked up in the corner and it said record, and I didn't notice, but it wasn't recording. It was on pause. And those buttons are easy to hit when you're unfamiliar with the equipment. You have to get used to it. And I'm not sure if I got it with him scratching or not, but I'm going to look it over real good and see. But you can see that he does give in to the urge to move a leg or something, you know, because it's the swamp. See there? There it is. You start to see it there. There it is. So, foot, knee, body. This would be the front shoulder right here. And these are brush. It's going behind thick brush. And as soon as I look the other video over, I'll see if I can't find. I'm hoping and praying that I got it scratching itself. Let's just continue to watch it here. This is way out across the slough. You see the water, you can see the reflection all here in the front. There, a little movement there. Hold on. I'll pull it through a little faster. Hopefully we won't miss anything. Lost him. Back on him. He's moved a little bit. I think you can see the head right there. I believe that's the head. Let's see what that was. Yep, there he stuck it out again. See, he's partially covered by brush, but you can see it. He's in thick brush. See him pull it back? I'm here to tell you, out in that swamp, you cannot hold a position forever without moving. Something there will make you move. I think that's the head right there. There you go. See it? Once again, this thing reads heat. It's not a white subject. It's a warm body. And as soon as I get the other video reviewed, if I see anything on it that's better, perhaps I did catch that. I'm not sure at what point I accidentally hit that pause, so if I do get that, I will definitely post it. Here's some stills. There's the back, the leg, the front leg, the head, down on all fours. Behind brush. Honey Island, November 3rd, 2018. I thank you for your time.
Except for the part where it stuck its leg out, stuff like that.
Yeah, right. It was a little part there where it just stuck its leg out. I saw it move a little bit, but it never changed positions. You could see its outline, and it was very much like Harlan Ford described, you know. So I felt like that I was looking at an example of what the Honey Island swamp monster was, but at a distance.
A safe one across a canal.
Yeah, it didn't run away, but it didn't bother us either. It was, I guess it was going to let us walk on by.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it's better than silently lowering itself into the water and then swimming in pursuit, coming up behind you, or some of the other things it could have done.
Yeah, well, 2 nights later, I came back with another friend. And we went walking down that same trail. And when I got to this log that I had tripped on the previous time, there was a stick sticking up out of the ground. Oh, it's tall as this tripod here. I mean,
So that tall.
You'll see the picture there, sticking up out of the ground beside the log, right on the spot where I tripped. Dead center. Jammed down like that. It was a sliver of the wood of a fallen tree that I saw it down there the previous night or the previous time. It had picked that up and just jammed it into the ground. And that was kind of creepy. Exactly where we were and what we were doing.
Yeah, and it watched you trip on that
I
log.
don't know whether it was in a tree or whether it was behind a log, but it was somewhere where it could see us.
Well, that's creepy.
Yeah, it is creepy.
When you know they're watching you.
Picked up some underwater stuff that were huge. It was, that thermal is kind of funny process. Once you set it, something that gets you set on, white hot. So if something shows up black, it's cooler than ambient.
Right.
And whatever it was, I could pick it up under the water. It was black. And right on the tip where it's very end of it, stuck out of the water, it was glowing hot.
What the hell?
So that must have been where it breathed.
What the hell?
But if you look at it, it looks like it's as long as a car.
Did you film it? Yeah, you sent me video?
I got it on film. I don't know if I sent you that film.
No, I don't remember seeing it. You got to send that.
Still shots.
Yeah.
Maybe I did. I don't know.
Send me the video.
I will.
Dang it, MK. Now we're just teasing the audience. They got to see the video.
It was strange. We didn't get an ID on it, but it was fish were jumping up ahead of it. I mean, just flying.
Trying to get out of the river.
Yeah.
Well, holy bleep! It must have been huge if it was that dang big.
I'll send that to you as soon as I can.
We definitely got to show everybody that one. So there was another piece of weird thermal video that you got of some little teeny animal, well maybe not that little, but jumping from tree trunk to tree trunk.
I don't know what that was.
You sent me that over and it looked like, I don't know, maybe a flying squirrel or something, but it moved so fast.
I don't know. I'm not that familiar with them. Things of the night. That camera was kind of new to me. It gave you an idea of what goes on at night. But this thing was unusually agile, and it was bigger than a squirrel. I mean, it was quite a bit bigger. My friends he thinks it was a like a small monkey or a baby Bigfoot, but I don't know.
Well, whatever it was moving really fast, and we'll show you
You
that
could, you
video
could
right here.
hardly follow it. It was so fast.
Yeah.
And
You guys could.
it could see good because it couldn't pull that off at night.
No. Uh-uh.
So
Yeah, it had to be something that was nocturnal.
yeah.
Who is it? Somebody was just telling me the other day that I want to say it was a lemur. Little bitty simians. Anyway, apparently they can see in the UV spectrum.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Those little. Don't it start with a Y?
Yeah, I can't even think of what they're called right
I
now.
can't either.
Marmosets or something. One of the little bitty ones that have the gigantic eyes.
Maybe it's marmoset.
But they can.
They live in the Philippines, don't
Yeah,
they?
they live in the jungles and stuff in the treetops, and they just finally did enough research on them to go. These guys can see ultraviolet light. Like, wow, okay. That helps a lot because, like, look at scorpions and stuff. When you hit them with ultraviolet light, guess what? They glow.
Yeah, you do.
And
there's other things that glow too. Not just scorpions.
Yeah. Well, bugs, which they eat a lot of. So I can see why they'd want that adaptation. But if you're wondering if there's any scientific feasibility to Bigfoot or some of these other hominoid cryptids being able to see outside the range of what we can see, well, there's an example right there.
Boy, scorpions, I don't know if I want to deal with them. Glad we don't have those here. We got cottonmouths and everything else, but I'm walking around at night, cottonmouths and cottonmouth paradise. Didn't get bit. Thank goodness.
Did you guys hear any kind of interesting vocalizations or unusual sounds any of the times that you were in there?
Yeah, we heard them. There was one time where you could hear it really good, but unfortunately my thermal doesn't have audio.
Ah, dang it!
And I was using the thermal trying to get a visual. It was a cry, some kind of cry. This area right in here is it's only a couple of times out of the year that activity, you see activity in there. One is like June, around June, the month of June, and the other is about November.
Huh.
About hunting season.
Right.
And it probably related to that. They move into this set of woods to where no hunting is allowed. Probably spend their time there. It's the wisdom of the woods. All animals do that.
Yeah, I got pretty good evidence in some of the areas the Bigfoot will be around there most of the year until hunting season. And then they kind of vanish for a while. And then after hunting season, they come back again.
They know where to go and when.
Yeah.
It's firearms is not something that any they're the great equalizers.
Yeah.
That's what the Hoopas told me, that sometime in their distant past, the Bigfoot used to be all down in the valleys. And he said when Europeans came and brought firearms, the Bigfoot told them they were going to the mountaintops, and said they don't want white people finding them. Don't tell them where we are. And he said, if you do tell them, then we're going to come back down here and steal your women and children again.
Yeah.
And
Dang European colonists anyway.
they didn't want no part of those blunderbusses, the big
Yeah.
they shot buckshot or something,
Well, interestingly, according to legend, there was an invasion of the Iroquois Confederation by the Janoskwa, who were coming right into their camps and killing them and eating them and whatnot, abducting them, eating them. And the Janoskwa actually lost the war. And they lost the war at the same time that the Iroquois Confederation was making contact with the white men and buying guns from them. Suddenly, they had way better weapons and they could actually kill the Janoskwa. And then the Janoskwa kind of lost and gave up and went back up in the northern areas they'd come from originally. And that was the end of the war with the stone giants.
Well, the very first Bigfoot report on record was Natchez, Mississippi, by the French, who had this thing come up into camp and towed off their livestock and stuff. And they didn't know what to call it. It was something horrible. And
Paramount Fay.
Right. Had they not had firearms, they could have been untenable.
Yeah.
But they were able to. You could run it off with a firearm. If it stayed, they'd shoot it. It wouldn't stay any longer. It would have to run.
And it would leave at least.
I'll say maybe kill it, but I don't. The way they talk, they didn't have a lot of confidence that they could kill it.
Yeah. Well, that was kind of the same thing with the war with the stone coats, because they were supposed to be 12, 15 feet tall. They're covered with armored hide that it's all applique armor. They just rub themselves down with pitch and sap and then roll around in the gravel and it sticks to their hair. And after they do 2 or 3 coats, they're armored. So you shoot all the little arrows at them you want with bone or flint tips on them. It's just going to break and bounce off. Can't do anything to them. But then all of a sudden you get a 70 caliber musket with a big 500 grain maxi ball in it. Yeah, that's going through your little rock armor, pal.
Yeah, it's no fun to get shot by it, even if it don't kill you.
Yeah, well, something like that, it'll kill you. That'll kill an elephant. So they weren't doing so good anymore. Those pesky natives got their hands on white man technology, started whipping their ass.
They learned to cope by learning the rules. There's no hunting over here.
Mm-hmm.
Season starts over here. They shift all of their stuff over here. Mm-hmm. For the duration.
I've heard something similar to what you were talking about earlier that was over here in the Pac West, and that's that there was conflicts between some of the tribes and the local Bigfoot. And one of them, I was actually talking to the great-great-great-grandson of the chief that was involved in these negotiations at the time. And basically what they worked out with him is that the natives would stay down in the lower valleys and the Bigfoot could have the mountaintops. And as long as, natives didn't go up to the mountaintops and try and screw around up there, everything was okay. And at some point, somebody had, just like forgotten about this or wasn't being told to enough people or something. And a couple hunters went up there and went, hey, there's a whole pile of game up there in the high country. We should be going up there hunting. And that kind of set off a war with them. And the local Bigfoot were squishing people. They'd wait until there was 2 or 3 braves together and then throw a whole tree on them, squish them. So that kind of turned into a war, and then they had to negotiate with them again and went, hey, we'll just stay down here in the valleys like we're supposed to. You guys can have the mountains. We won't bother you anymore. And this irritated this guy because he knew they were real. He had found their tracks. He had seen them before. But as a member of that tribe, his tribe was not allowed to go into their area at all anymore. So for like 40 or 50 years, he wanted to go up there and do Bigfoot research, and he couldn't get access because of the deal they had made with him.
Well, the Hoopas told me that once a year, every year, they would go up to what they call Marble Mountain, and they would leave tobacco for the little people.
Yeah, the little people.
I could not see anybody going through that much effort and expense for a myth.
Uh-uh.
It, they had to have been something up there for real that they were leaving it for. You know,
Okay.
and I found a little track at Bluff Creek about maybe that long.
Uh-huh.
And the natural inclination is to think baby Bigfoot. But apparently, there's also the little people there. And they were worse afraid, the Hoopas were worse afraid of the little people than they were of the Bigfoot.
And that's exactly the same way it is here in Montana. All these tribes are way more afraid of the little people than they are of the Bigfoot. And that little teeny track that you just held up your hand and when it was about like that big, I found 4 of those by the twice abandoned ghost town of Coloma. And they were definitely not Bigfoot tracks. They were moccasin tracks.
Well, apparently you stood more chance of getting harmed from the little people. They were mean spirited.
Yeah, the ones up here are not to be trifled with, and if you accidentally piss them off, you need to apologize profusely, leave presents, and never go back to their area
That's why
again.
they went up there every year and left tobacco.
Yeah, appeasement.
Appeasement, right?
Yeah. Yeah, well, Area A up there, when I had Kevin from the Glag Saga and his buddies up there, they were tooling around in their vehicles separate from us, and they found an area which I think is one of the places the little people live. And in this big pile of boulders, there was an open area in the middle of it, and there was lattice work. Like somebody had woven all these branches back and forth, just like they were making a canopy up above it. And then there was a hole in the back of it, and there was all this sand in there. And there was these teeny little indentations in the sand. Something little had been going in and out of this thing. Well, the one idiot that was with Kevin decided that taking this lattice for a memento would be a good idea. And Kevin had more sense than him and said, "What the hell are you doing? Go put that back where you got it right now and apologize. There's nothing there. Go apologize anyway. Put it back." So they did. And then, unfortunately, it was the spring of the following year when Kevin died, the idiot that moved the thing. He's still very much alive. But I figured out he told me pretty much basically exactly where it was. And I went up there and found the spot again. So I was pretty much sure that was exactly where he had been talking about. The lattice work was gone, but I could still see the little cave entrance there. So I gave him a whole bag of hard candy. I just opened it up, threw all the pieces on the ground, right in the cave entrance. That's one of the things they notoriously like: sweet cakes, hard candy, and natural tobacco. And I just said, "Here you go. Sorry about my idiot friends bothering you. None of us are going to come over here and pester you again."
Well, I don't know. It seems kind of over the top, to be hollering an apology out to the woods, but
Yeah.
a person didn't understand. They would
Well,
have a hard time.
better safe than sorry, and I wouldn't have gone to all that trouble and believed anything like that was possible if I hadn't already found those 4 little moccasin tracks in a line.
Right. That's what I'm saying. You had a background that told you that maybe it might be better to just go ahead. That's the easy way, is to capitulate.
Precautionary apologies just in case. What am I out? The cost of a bag of candy. On the other hand, if it's real, I'm saving my life.
That's what the guy was telling me. You can't win an altercation with them. They're gonna come out on top.
Yeah, well, they're so small, it's easy for them to hide. They've got super speed, super strength. They work in groups. They like traps and poisoned weapons. You got no friggin' chance. These guys are like 18 inches, 2 feet tall. They can jump up, plunge their fist through your chest, and rip your still beating heart out and show it to you before they hit the ground. You got no chance.
It's best to just try to get along.
Yeah, exactly. Get along with them and leave them alone. That's mainly what they want, just leave them alone.
Well, that would do it for me. yeah, you have to go all the way up to the top of the mountains to even get in their territory.
Yep.
And then if you don't ease things with them, then you gonna catch it.
That's another thing too. In the missing 411, one of the places where a lot of people go missing, and anybody that studied Dave Paulides stuff enough knows three places. One of them is swamps. Another one is berry patches. Huckleberry patches have a higher incidence of missing people. And talus slopes, big boulder fields. Why talus slopes, big boulder fields? What's there? All the legends talking about the little people living in places like that.
Well,
And ain't Bigfoot living in that talus slope. It's the little people.
yeah, that was something that I wasn't aware of, and he told me that. He says, Bigfoot's one thing, but little people are what we're most concerned about.
Yeah.
So
Bigfoot's more patient and forgiving than little people are. So, yeah. And that's exactly what it's like here, too. I was told that by one of the locals. Well, if you find a trail of Bigfoot tracks, you can follow them for a ways, but don't follow them too far. He might still be around if they're fresh. He'll see that you're following him, and then he'll double back and he'll be following you, and that could be bad. So, or go the opposite direction, go from where the tracks came from, rather than to where they're going to. But he says if you see little person tracks, drop whatever the hell you're doing and get out of there immediately.
Well, Honey Island probably has the full complement of all of those things. It's such a vast place. People used to hide out in Honey Island. I forgot the guy they made this movie out of with Matthew McConaughey. I can't think of his name now. He hid out in there.
Well, I mean, you're in pirate land down there, for God's sake.
The pirates buried gold. I've got a book that tells you where buried gold is in the southeast.
Yeah.
And Honey Island is a lot of different pirates went in there and buried their gold.
Which just makes sense.
Would you ever find it if the pirate wasn't able to come back?
Good luck.
Just it'd just be gone.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, you've had that weird stuff going on down there for hundreds of years in this area, and like some of these other parts of the country where you got notorious hideouts for bandits and stuff. There's always something really wrong with those areas. Every single time, there's something really wrong with them.
Rivers and stuff like that are always attractive to the strange goings on, and there's a lot of theories about it, but one of them is at where rivers cross, where they have a confluence. One runs into the other.
Yep.
There's almost a paranormal activity around that. It's got a lot of electricity. What do you call it? Ionization.
Right. Just from the natural forces pushing things around.
Right, from the water going different ways and all churning each other. The fish get much larger around a confluence.
Right.
You can go out there and catch catfish. But the one I'm thinking about has 3 Indian mounds built around it. And those Indian mounds to this day have such high strangeness. Now you can hear vocalizations and all kinds of things going on right there at that confluence.
I got a friend in northern Wisconsin. Doesn't live there anymore, but there's a confluence of 3 rivers there, and there was this kind of wetland there. And he never could figure out why nobody would go camp there or anything. So he went there and camped there by himself for about 3 days. And then he said, now I know why no one will camp there, and I'm not camping there anymore either. Way too much cryptid activity scared the crap out of him. They were around his camp every night, all 3 days he was there, and he didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, that's the way it was on this thing too. I went out there and spent a little time at night, and something jumped out of a tree into the water. It made a huge splash. You could tell it was big. And
You sure it wasn't a tree gator?
well, that would have been almost as good.
Yeah, especially if you got it on video.
Yeah, but we couldn't pick it up with our headlights. We didn't have to. Yeah, it was. I think I do have that on video, but you can hear the splash, but you can't see anything.
Well, if you got the video that we can hear the splash, at least send that over. I can share that.
Uh-oh. Oh, my gosh. You hear that?
I did hear that.
Something heavy fell into the water. Uh-oh. Oh, my gosh. You hear that?
I did hear that.
Something heavy fell into the water. Uh-oh. Oh, my gosh. You hear that?
I did hear that.
Something heavy fell into the water.
Here's the actual splash. Kaploosh.
The Spanish built a fort on top of it where it could see up both rivers.
Right.
And they dug a well right into the top of the Indian mound.
Oh.
The well had a dome on it with a little small hole, made of bricks. They made their own bricks, the Spanish did. And one of the rivers got desnagged quite a few years ago, and the flow coming out of it increased in velocity. So it starts to come all the way across the other river and cut into that Indian mound.
Uh-oh.
And it wears it away all the way up to that well, and then the well collapses. And there's rubble falling down, eventually going into the river. And you could see Indian stuff, Spanish stuff. I got one of their things. Hold on just a minute.
Are you bringing cursed artifacts home again? Dang it, MK, I've told you about that.
Here it is. That's what some of their stuff here. Don's got some too. Don's been there.
Well, Don's Mr. Danger. He's been everywhere dangerous.
See that handmade? Used to be
Yep.
a jug.
Yep. It's not even brown. It's a little whitish jug. Yep. Little
Well,
brown jug.
There's not
Well,
much
that'll be-
not much to do on an Indian mound in the swamp.
It's too bad the river changed direction and wiped all that out. That kind of sucks.
Yeah, it's just tumbling off into the river, but Indian stuff and Spanish stuff.
Yeah.
Now, some people have argued with me that it wasn't the Spanish, but it was. The guy that told me it was the Spanish was a very competent historian.
Yeah.
The Spanish were looking to loot. They were looking for treasure.
Yeah.
The Indians got in their way.
Yeah. The Spanish were just more organized pirates with an army. Then the pirates came
right.
later.
They had the firepower.
Yeah.
Here, take a look at this handle.
Looters Inc.
I'm not sure. It may be washing out. You
Yeah.
can
It's
see
kinda-
it's rolled up clay.
Yep. Yeah, that wasn't something that was made in a factory or anything.
it's
That was
just
handmade.
rolled up.
Yep.
Yeah. And so you can see right there.
Pretty cool. That's an old artifact there.
Yeah.
That always makes you wonder, what's the story behind this object? Where did it come from? Who
Long,
drank the last swig of whiskey out of it before it broke?
well, if paranormal stuff's going on around it right now,
Yeah.
what was going on around it back then.
Oh, I'm sure there was way less paranormal stuff back then when there was no humans around or anything.
I bet you they shot all their ammunition up.
They might have actually broken that little brown jug on a Gugly's head trying to defend themselves for all we know.
Well, it could be that. You never know. That might be part of the history
there. So, was there any other anomalous stuff that you actually encountered while you were there in the Honey Island Swamp that we didn't cover already?
We got buzzed by a helicopter at night.
At night?
At night.
So were you someplace that you weren't supposed to be? Or
I
why
was
were they
out in the swamp. I made several forays out in there at night. I had my friend Matt Noel with me that night. Matt don't live far from there. He lives he was living out there at the edge of the swamp in a little town called Bush, Louisiana. And Matt would go with me a lot of times. But I've gone out there by myself at night.
Oh God!
And I after I've learned a few things, I've gotten educated from you and maybe a few others. I don't think I'll do that again.
Yeah, or at least be heavily strapped. At least as much as Rambo or something. If you go in there by yourself with your strap-on night vision goggles. Hearing amplifier.
Lucky that I'm here at night.
Yeah. Well, we're happy that you didn't get eaten by Champagne or Gugways or anything else so far. We're very happy about that.
Go missing.
Go missing. Well, again, look, we got the report from the guy earlier in the show talking about seeing weird stuff there when he was on In Search of It, and he went missing. And he wasn't even in Alaska. He managed to go missing in Louisiana.
Well, you could step in a stump hole and go missing there.
Oh yeah.
A stump's rotted out. He gets covered over with the cypress needles.
Yeah.
You'd be walking along. Whoop. Go straight down.
Yeah.
And the people were all just good as gold.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
So I feel like that I need to do right by them. To have gotten it wrong, I'll always feel bad about that, and I try to make it up every way I can. Because Harlan Ford suffered some. His reputation suffered some for sticking with what he knew to be true. And I didn't want to be a part of that.
And we should point out at this point that Harlan Ford wasn't just some, swamp rat. He actually had a decent job and everything. He was a legit human being.
Yeah, what you see, you saw, and his job required that very same thing. He was an air traffic controller in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Well, if you can't trust your own eyes, how could you possibly be an air traffic controller?
Yeah.
He knew what he was looking at, and he described it very well, and it didn't bother him to describe it because he had confidence in his own abilities.
Yeah, plus at some point he got video of it too, so that's fairly convincing.
That usually does the trick.
Yeah. And again, keeping in mind, 1963 is when he shot that video, and that was 4 years before the Patterson-Gimlin film.
I hope that Dana has got that thing in a safety deposit box or something. They don't last forever. Film.
No.
They succumb to heat. It succumb to moisture.
Deteriorates indeed.
Some types of films will ignite in the canister.
Wow.
The film of Ishi that was taken, he came out, the last Indian to come out of the wild.
Right.
it caught fire in the canister, and they saved 4 frames.
Well, woo. 4 whole frames. Great job of making a copy of it, morons.
Well, I took the 4 frames and I I kind of invented a process to lash them all together and where they can be seen as a video again,
Right.
but not so jerky.
Right.
That was what my process did. It took the flicker out of it, and it kind of got back some of it. He shows him pulling a bow back.
Right.
He pulled this bow back with his thumb. The only people in the world who did that were Mongolians. They had a wooden ring they put on their thumb. And they catch that string with that ring, pull it back. And the anthropologists knew that. And they said that not even nearby tribes did it. It was only him. He had learned it, from somebody who had brought it in from Asia.
Huh.
Now
Or maybe he was a Mongolian. He just got really, really lost.
He wouldn't tell him anything. It was equivalent to name, rank, and serial number. Called him Ishi, but that's a name that Alfred Kroger gave to him. He was an anthropologist, and he used another nearby Indian tribe, their language. The word for man was Ishi.
Right.
He just called him man in that person's language. Ishi never told him anything. He told more stuff to this guy named Pope. This doctor, his name was Pope. And he became friends with him because the doctor was just keenly interested in his bow hunting.
Right.
And that guy wrote a bow hunting book based on what he learned from Ishi. And they named the Pope and Young record book.
Uh-huh.
He's the Pope.
Wow. So Ishi made a confession to the Pope himself. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, to the Pope himself. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. It never got explained about the thumb, pulling the string, but you can see it in that little video. I have it.
Huh.
He pulls it back like that, and then lets the bow rotate.
So I guess you're sending me that video too, then, huh?
I will if you want.
Since you just brought it up, we have to show it now. That's
Yeah.
the rule on the show. If you mentioned it and there's video or pictures, you're showing it.
Well, he knew about Bigfoot. He came from the Mount Lassen area,
Right.
which is back on the eastern side of I-55 from Bluff Creek. You go western side, and you go on up through Weaverville and Willow Creek and on up that way. But this would be on the opposite side of that interstate, I-5, and it's some of the most beautiful country you've ever seen. It's got this huge volcano, and the Sacramento River headwaters are there. Knock your neck out of joint.
Yeah, they could accidentally kill you way too easy. By accident, way too easy.
Kill you even though they like you.
Yeah. Haha, you're funny. They pat you on the back, you explode. Damn. I keep losing my human friends like that.
Yeah, so Honey Island is just one place across this big country. There's lots of others.
And many of them have been visited by M.K. Davis in the past. So you can look forward to another episode of In Search of with M.K. Davis coming up sometime in the near future here. Oh, did I mention that? You're doing another episode? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this one's going to be in what do we have next? Desert Southwest with Dangerous Don Monroe.
Yeah, dangerous. Oh yeah, I talked to Don the other day. He's struggling,
Well, I hope he's okay and
His
everything goes
age,
well.
his age is catching up to him, and I'm struggling myself in a lot of ways.
Speaking of struggling, I hate to interject here for a second, but I have to because otherwise I'll forget. For lots of longtime viewers, you may remember Robert Boston, Bigfoot in Germany, who's Mr. Destructo and gets hurt a lot. Well, he's once again managed to do it. In October, he had a stroke, which he's currently trying to recover from. And about 5 or 6 days ago, he broke one of his ankles because of balance problems, because of the stroke. So if y'all would like send in some positive thoughts, prayers, and best wishes, he could kind of use them right now. And he would appreciate it. I would appreciate it.
Bob Gimlin is 93 years old. Did you know that?
Yeah. Now, him and Don Monroe are about the same age, aren't they?
Well, there's the rumors has it that Don is over 100, but it just depends on how you catch him.
So if you had him in a cage match, who would you lay your money on? Bob Gimlin or Don Monroe? No weapons or outside objects or interference.
I'm going to have to go with Don on that one. I've seen him in action.
See, that's why I call him Dangerous Don Monroe. Right?
I've seen him in action. He could write a book on how to win a fight when you're grossly oversized or outnumbered,
and still win,
and still come out.
He could write a book on how to fall off cliffs and not get killed, as far as that goes.
He's defeated gravity.
He's defeated gravity. He's just friends with it. He goes with the flow. All right, MK. We're gonna let everybody go now. All you guys, thanks for being here. Please share this show to groups and friends so more people see it. Definitely need more reach here. Let's keep the channel going so I can bring you some more of these amazing optimal shows with some of these classic legendary Bigfoot researchers like MK Davis. And we're going to have Ron Moorhead back on. He's going to do it in search of episode 2. So you got that to look forward to. So until we meet again, you guys know the rules. Follow them implicitly, and nobody will end up in a Dave Paulides book.